Welcome to another of my painting critique videos. In this video, I'll be reviewing the paintings from my attendees of the May workshop where we painted cows in a field. In this video, I'll be offering constructive feedback on each of your paintings, those attended, those that send me paintings, and my critiques are based on my own perspective. I'll be highlighting the aspects I admire most about each piece. I'll also suggest a small tweak or improvement just to help you refine your skills even further. And remember, we're all here to learn and grow together. Also, bear in mind the color and lighting on the photos, the individual photos from my attendees may not be exactly correct because everyone's got different cameras and lighting conditions and resolutions, so just bear that in mind. Now, these workshops, you don't have to paint in my style. It's really interesting to see everyone's different take on the scene, everyone's different style and techniques, and their different ideas about handling the same scene. And the workshops are open to painters of all levels, beginners, advanced, so you can get some professional painters taking part as well. If you want to take part, you can see all my events at my event site, crowdcast.io/Tim Wilmot, crowdcast.io/@Tim Wilmot, that's been slightly changed recently. And there you'll see this workshop, which you can still do, and all the previous ones as well that I run every month. Now, the scene. I chose this scene of cows in a field with an atmospheric sky. It's going to be an exercise in drawing and painting cows, the different types of foliage we've got, the dark trees in that background, the sort of lighter grass color. It's late summer, so we've got that sort of end of season look to the grass. And then in the foreground, some hedgerow, a little sort of brambly, prickly hedgerow there. It's a nice scene actually, because it's got foreground with the hedge, then we've got the middle ground with the cows, and then the background with the trees and the trees left and right, and then that stormy sky beyond. In my demo, I described composition as well, trying to move those cows around. And for example, this cow here, lying just on the other side of the hedge, decided not to include that in my painting in the demo. And also these two cows here, one looking left, one looking right, almost looks like it's, if you look at it sort of carefully, it's like it's just one animal with two heads. So decided to remove that. And then this lonely cow there lying over in that top right corner, move that one into the left. So those are my thoughts on the composition. But also trying to get in the feeling of the light coming into the scene, thinking about values as well, how dark it is in the understory of the canopy of the trees there, the dark, gloomy sky, but that being dark, contrasting against the light hitting this field. Anyway, so let's get on to my painting. Overall, I'm quite happy with my demo painting. I think I got a nice balance to the composition with the three cows there towards the foreground, the cow up in the top right corner, move that in a little bit more into a sort of central position, but also trying to highlight the back of that cow, the light of that cow against the darker background. Connecting these three cows, connecting with their shadows as well, like this left-hand cow. Shadow that one, connection to the middle cow. Then the balance of the foreground, the hedgerow there. Quite happy with the brush marks, keeping it fairly simple, but giving the feeling of the foliage there, and the light green leaves, the darker green leaves, the branches and stalks of the brambles, and then in the background, those darker trees, and then highlighting that against that stormy sky, which is quite a sort of bluish, a dark blue stormy sky. And then also a sort of radiating pattern of where the grass has been cut, I guess, by the farmer. That kind of radiating pattern, which I thought was quite attractive. Just observing the way that the grass, the lines of the grass cuts. I think it's quite a nice pattern going across the scene. So that's my painting then. Let's go through the attendees one by one. I'll go through these in alphabetical order. So first up, Adele. Nice composition. It's a nice, bold, clean watercolor. I like the sharp edges of the trees in the background. That's what my eyes went to first of all. Nice grouping of the cows. You've put them further back in the field. Maybe could they be just a little bit too small in the overall scene? Perhaps we might have a little bit more impact if they're a bit larger, but they're really well drawn, painted. You've got one of the standing cows there, which I didn't bother putting in, but you put that one in. Yeah, it came out really well. There's a nice grouping of the cows. The hedgerow at the base there, that's come out really well also. Good colour for the foliage. Nice bit of wet in wet for the shadows underneath the trees there, left and right. Nice pattern with those lines in the grass also. Good sky. Yeah, well done, Adele. And Alex. I like the soft look to the scene and the warmth that you've got into the pasture there. Nice composition. I also like these blobs here. I don't know how you achieve that. Maybe that was a bit of splattering while the paper was dry. You went in with that. I think it's quite attractive. Not so sure about the cows. I think that one there looks all right. Perhaps the edges of the darker markings, they're just a little bit too hard. It could be softened up a little bit. And on the right-hand side here, perhaps their legs are a little bit too short. If they're a bit higher up, and the head's just a little bit more cow-like, so they sort of go a little bit like that. It's almost like a triangle shape. That might come out a little bit better. Love the foliage though. I've remarked on the grass, all the colours that you've got in the grass. That pattern as well, that sort of circular pattern there, and that warmer patch in the middle. The background trees, they've come out really well, I like it. Yeah, it's a nice start to it. Yeah, well done, Alex, thank you. And Amy. A nice light scene. I think with your coolness of the background greens, you push those trees back a little bit further than I did. I love that sky. The textures that you've got in there, that's superbly handled. The way that you've done that sky, and you've got in a mixture of hard and soft edges there, and that sort of cloud there going in a diagonal angle in the middle. Very effective. The cows are really well drawn and painted, particularly that left-hand one. Connect them. I think you followed me on the composition. And then the brambles, the hedge in the foreground. Yeah, they're all right. Maybe with the blobs of the leaves, perhaps try and alternate the size of those, trying to have them all sort of, these darker patches all sort of equally sized. Try and get in a range of smaller and larger blobs of that dark foliage. Yeah, really nice, particularly like that sky. Well done, Amy. And Andrew. Yeah, very dark, particularly that sky. Perhaps just a little bit overworked in that sky and the trees, but you've certainly achieved a lot of atmosphere in this. Good composition. The cows are nicely placed. We've got two cows on the right-hand side here, staring at us. You've got the background one up there as well. Good texture on the grass. I like the way that you've done the hedgerow in the foreground, and that sort of little bit of a dip, nicely framing the scene. The greens are good. Yeah, I think perhaps the greens on the right hand just a little bit overworked. So ease off on particularly the background. Try not to put too much effort into that background. I mean, the sort of green that you've got up there, that's a better green there, Andrew. But down here, just a little bit overdone. Yeah, but you certainly achieved the feeling of that stormy sky and the atmospheric conditions there. And the cows are really well drawn and painted, particularly these left-hand two, the white one, the dark one. Well done, Andrew. Anna. Yeah, very nice. Good, clean, bold watercolor. The trees stand out in the background against that darker sky. The cows really well drawn, particularly that middle one there. The left-hand one, not sure if the neck is looking right and that eye maybe stands out just a little bit too much. But these two here look superb, and the background one as well. Lovely brush marks for the hedgerow in the foreground. And I like the way that with the grass, you've got a yellowy colour towards the back of the field. And then you've gone for like a cooler green coming towards us. Yeah, it just sort of adds in a bit of extra interest into that middle area. Sky is fantastic. Also like the faint little subtle lines around that tree there. Almost like the tree is shaking and it's creating a little bit of disturbance in the atmosphere. Yeah, lovely sky. Well done, Anna. Oh, I also like the little bit of brown, a little bit of warmth in that background. Not overly warm, so it brings it forwards. Really nice brush marks. Well done. And Ashley. Good composition. Nice sky. With the trees, that the light green is just the right value to push it back. Perhaps try and get in some softer edges where we've got the shadow going into the lighter parts of the tree, particularly just there where it's dark here, light up here, but then as with the curvature of the tree, we would gradually get a little bit of a softer edge. So you could, with a small synthetic brush, a damp brush, you could just sort of tease that edge there just to soften that up a little bit. Just with your white paint, try and make it a little bit thicker. You've got a bit too much water in with the mix, and you get that sort of, I zoom in there, you get this sort of milky appearance, and then as the paint dries, as that white streak dries, the pigment, I don't know why, but it sort of settles around the edges of your marks. So you get this sort of funny, milky streak with the white edges. But yeah, it's not overly done, but just be careful with that. The greens are really good. Cows are good as well. Although this left-hand cow looks a little bit larger than the other two, perhaps with this middle one being a little bit closer to us. Maybe that left-hand one might be a little bit smaller. And also perhaps getting a bit of a shadow, just a tiny bit of a shadow to that left-hand one and the middle one there. Just a tiny bit of shadow, but the sun is probably up here somewhere, so coming down to that sort of angle there. And that would then connect them with the ground a little bit more rather than having them just hovering a few inches above the surface. But lovely grass, the hedgerow in the foreground, really nice as well. Yeah, I would say just ease off a little bit on that white gouache there, or certainly add a little bit more water to it. Beautiful sky though. Well done, Ashley. And Barb. Very bright scene. Yeah, you certainly achieved a lot of light into the scene. I like the way that you've adjusted the composition. You've got the lying down cow. You moved it from the right to the left. Works really well. We've got the standing cow there. The cows are really well drawn and painted. I particularly like this one here, the light one, with those lines. There's a bit of a shadow there on the right-hand side of the body of the cow. And the shadow going over. Yeah, those cows have come out really well. Try and connect the shadow a bit more to the body. You've got a bit of a white edge there. Just try and connect it a little bit more. But they're brilliant. The greens are fantastic. Sky. It's got the right colour and value. Maybe just a little bit too grey. Perhaps it could be either warmed up a bit or cooled down with a brown, a warm brown, or a blue, just an idea. And we've got a few little sort of marks appearing there, which is sort of all right. But I think trying to keep that sky fairly sort of plain will look better. Love the hedgerow. That's really nice. I like the pattern that you've achieved. Almost like triangular brush marks, repeating it all the way through. Very effective. Yeah, and those background trees, they are brilliant there. Yeah, perhaps with the sky being a little bit bluer, that might contrast a little bit more with the trees. Just an idea. Like the paper, by the way. Well done, Barb. And Bob. Very nice sky. Love the background trees. You've got a herd of cows here. And you've got a grouping of cows on the right-hand side. We've got a little house up there, top right corner. Perhaps it could be a little bit more shadow on that right-hand side, Bob, just because of where the sunlight's coming from. But good idea, having a house up there. Cows really well drawn and painted. You've got a feeling of perspective and depth into the painting as well with the more distant cows. Looks like they're sort of all walking off in one direction, doesn't it? To maybe a feed station or something like that. Now, nicely, you've balanced everything happening there on the right-hand side with the cows with those beautiful trees there. They are fantastic. And then that line there, that subtle line there, and there's little sort of a depression in the field here. Yeah, really nice field. Lovely sky. Good hedgerow as well. Yeah, very imaginative with a bit like Barb's. Barb's was nice with the moving around the cows, and this equally so. Thanks very much, Bob. And Bronwyn. Very nice composition. I think you've pretty much followed my line on the composition. I love those trees in the top left corner. Excellent sky. Like the bit of paper left unpainted there. Almost that could have been, some of those marks could be made into birds in the sky with part of the bird catching the light, maybe, just an idea. The field is really good. I like it. Perhaps it could be just a little bit greener, but you've got the right value, and it certainly makes these cows stand out just a little bit more. Cows are really well drawn and painted. Probably the best one is that right-hand one there, I reckon. But really nice grouping of the cows, and the hedgerow, that came out really well also. Yeah, well done, Bronwyn. Thank you. And Buck, very nice cows. These are excellent cows. That left-hand one is superb. Let's just zoom in on that one. The udders, the actual pose of that cow munching away at the grass, bit of motion in the scene. Yeah, fantastic. So you kept the other four as per the source photo, but that standing one, I think, is fantastic. And also the placement of the cow as well. just slightly above the kind of top level of that field. Lovely sky, soft edges, the feeling of the foliage in that tree as well. Not too much detail, got that lovely shadow. Just right, that shadow underneath the tree and the right-hand hedgerow as well. Golden, more of a golden sort of green for the grass in the field. Perfect shadows for the cows. And then the hedgerow in the foreground. Yeah, almost going to a sort of darker colour towards the bottom of the paper. Yeah, fantastic. Lovely cows, particularly that left-hand one. Well done, Buck. And Carol. Nice composition. I like the little bit more of a slope that you've got on the scene there, Carol. That's another sort of thing that, of course, that we can change, the sort of angle, the line of that top of the field. Beautiful sky. I like the trees. Well done. Left and right. Nice golden colour for the grass. The cows have come out really well, particularly the middle one and that right-hand one. I think maybe the cow on the left, perhaps the head could be just a tiny bit more angled, possibly. But they're all good. Nice shadows as well, connecting them. The bottom hedge, fantastic. Just the right sort of marks in there. Perhaps the lighter marks that I guess you've used, white gouache, that could be just a little bit more opaque, perhaps a bit thicker with your application. A bit like you've got the right thickness with the fence post in the background. Maybe if it was a similar sort of thickness, I reckon, Carol. But a lovely scene. Well done. And Ching. Yep, nice composition. You've made the cows a little bit larger in the scene. Works out all right. I think with the cows, you might need to just look at some of the heads. The left-hand one is nearly there. The ears might be just a little bit too large. The middle one here, the neck might be a little bit too long, possibly just a tiny bit too long, but they certainly do have that cow look to them. Nice composition though. I like the way that the cow here almost connects with the top of the field. That sky is fantastic, very moody, very atmospheric. The foliage in the background, brilliant, lovely edge to the foliage as well. A nice loose way that you've done the fence post in the back there. Confidently done. Good field. And then this hedgerow in the foreground. I like those brush marks. Very expressive. These lines here, I guess you might have done with a rigger or something like that. Really nice brush marks. Yeah, nothing overworked. A very fresh scene. Thank you, Ching. And Christy. Now my eyes went, first of all, not to the cows, but to that tree in the top left corner. I think that yellowy green against the sky creates a lot of impact. A lot of contrast as well. Very attractive. The way that you've done, also you've applied the foliage as well. Mixture of hard and soft edges. Very nice. The cows, they came out really well, particularly this one in the middle. That is superb. The way that you've applied a wash for the darker part of the body, not gone too dark. You've got in some warms and some cools on the darker patch of that cow. The left-hand one, very golden as well, nicely, quite sort of compatible with the grass. The grass, you've certainly got the impression of the sort of late season grass, the dried grass stubs where it's just been cut. With the hedge in the bottom, perhaps it could, you're just touching, so the top of the hedge is just touching the base of that cow. I would think if you had more of a wavy edge to it, Christy, that might be a little bit better for it. A bit better as a sort of edge to the shape of the hedge there at the bottom. But I do like the effect of the foliage there. Those cows are brilliant, and the way that you've got them all sort of almost in line, almost connected. A nice way of connecting that group. Yeah, but I do that tree there in the top left-hand corner is superb. Well done, Christy. And Colin, we've got a red cow, a reddish cow, lovely. Yeah, you've changed the colour of the cows a little bit. You kept with their shape, but changed the colour. So we've got a darker cow there on the left, or maybe the one that was in the middle. You've moved to the left, and then the one that was on the left, the creamy colour one, you've moved to the middle and made it redder. Yeah, they've come out right. I'm not so sure. I'm not a cow expert. I'm not sure if it would be that red, but I think it's really nice. And of course, with red, it does bring it a little bit closer to us. I like the pattern that you've got across the field as well, with those radiating lines. And then the sort of crisscrossing of the twigs and branches in the bramble hedge in the foreground. Lovely sky as well, very atmospheric, very stormy, quite dark, contrasting against those lighter trees. Yeah, like it. Certainly different with that red cow. Well done, Colin. And Donna. Well, a different scene, totally. We're looking down on a meadow here. As I said at the beginning, you don't need to follow my style or my composition. It's entirely up for grabs. It's just an inspiration for you if you want to go off-piste and do your own thing. No problem at all. And this is exactly what Donna's done. A lovely sort of, almost like a valley scene here with cows eating away in the herd of cows are eating away in this middle pasture, and then a mountain range beyond. Yeah, certainly got the feeling of depth into the scene with the lighter value, a cooler colour, lighter value of those distant hills and softer edges as well. You haven't gone for the stormy sky, more of a pleasant day sky. Not so sure about the hedge in the foreground there. I think if you had a harder edge, and also this line here, this sort of, I guess this is another field here, Donna, in that bottom left-hand corner. I don't think it really needs it. But if you got harder edges into this field here, that might bring it forwards a little bit. But well done on changing the scene. Also, what worked out well is this middle row of trees there. It's certainly got the feeling of the volume of those trees and the shadow and just the right amount of soft edges. Thanks, Donna. And Helen. Oh, so Helen's gone for a sunny day. Works out well. Nice sky, lighter towards the horizon. Background trees came out really well. Nice colour to those trees. Good colour for the grass. Cows are all right. The two here look okay, and the seated one, the one lying down here in the foreground, that looks right as well. Not so sure about these darker marks here. I guess you're going for perhaps they're a little bit too dark. If you wanted to have them as sort of darker tufts of grass, then maybe a little bit of a lighter green for that. But you got the right sort of brush mark for it. Very effective. And over there as well, behind that cow, in front of those also. Nice grouping of cows though, good composition. With the foreground hedge, splattering is good, but I just think we need to make it maybe a little bit more hedge-like with harder edges. I think it's a little bit too soft. And if we had some harder edges in there, like you've done with the splattering, but some harder edges with the green, that might give it more of a feeling of those sort of the individual leaves or grouping of leaves in that foreground, if you see what I mean. But a nice sort of reinterpretation of the scene. Fantastic sky though. Certainly got the feeling of a bright day. Well done, Helen. And Jackie. Also, Jackie's moved the horizon down, like it. So we're, of course, then we are focusing more on the sky, and the sky is most of the composition. So we've got to make sure that sky counts, and yours definitely does. That is a beautiful sky. It's sort of wet in wet, of course, in watercolor. And we've got those subtle, lighter and darker areas, soft edges. I guess your board might have been on a little bit of a slope, so the paint has travelled down the paper just ever so slightly, like here, here a little bit. Then soft edges around the trees. Those trees, the way that they are connected with the sky is brilliant. Lovely coolness in those trees and a little bit of light there, light here, hard edges here, soft edges there. Cows. I like the cows. I actually like that bit of a soft edge there on that middle cow. The left-hand one is fantastic. Yeah, cows are really good. Perhaps with the field, there could be, with a dry brush, you could get in just a few marks there to make it a little bit more. We've got almost like a sort of reflective surface. And I think if you applied some marks, a little bit like you're doing here on that right-hand side, but some darker marks just to give the feeling of some tufts of grass or where the grass has been cut, and we've got sort of different heights of grass. That would apply a little bit more texture to that grass. And this hedgerow in the foreground, it sort of mimics and reflects almost the way that you've done the colours, the palette choice that you've got for the background trees. Harder edges though brings it closer to us. Maybe it doesn't look like a bramble hedge, but it certainly does look like a hedge, and it's a nice framing in that bottom left-hand corner. But that sky is fantastic. Really nice. Well done, Jackie. And Jean. Nice bright scene, good composition. The sky is fantastic. Nice brush marks in the sky. Nice bright trees. Those cows are really well drawn and painted, particularly the left-hand one here. Maybe with the pencil marks, particularly on the left-hand side where the light is coming in, you could try with a rubber erasing some of those lines just to get back that sharpness, the light, the impact of light on that left-hand side. I think you can get away with it on the right-hand side there, these pencil marks. I personally quite like pencil marks showing through in a transparent watercolour. I just think it's part of the charm of the watercolour, where you can see, like the artist's sort of thoughts on the composition. A little bit of these lines here. And of course in sort of lighter areas, those lines show up, and it can be, with these cows, could be extra little marks on the skin or folds on the skin. Yeah, it's come out really well. Nice field. With the hedgerow in the foreground, I think you could have gone maybe a little bit darker and a bit more opaque, a bit thicker with the application of the paint, just to make it appear a little bit closer to us. But it certainly does look like a hedge. Yeah, nice one. Thank you, Jean. As I say, I do these watercolor challenges, workshops every month, and next month we're doing something completely different. How are you with painting a night scene in watercolor? This is a town in northern France, and we've got challenges here with perspective in the street scene. We've got some cars. Maybe we can include some figures as well to add some extra interest into the scene. But it's not all about the darks. Look at all these bright colours that we've got, and the light coming from those street lights and the lights attached to the buildings. Certainly we have a lot of fun. Hopefully you can join me. To take part, to register and take part, go up to my event website, which is crowdcast.io/@Tilmore. Love to see you there and include your painting on the group critique. And Joe, got a different grouping of cows here, different breed of cow maybe. I like the way that you've spaced those cows out with a couple of cows there in the middle, one looking left, one looking right. Then some standing cows in the background. Yeah, well done on these. Well, particularly these three cows here look brilliant. Nice composition. Just be careful with a little bit of overworking of that sculpt. But I like the marks that you've got sort of radiating out as well. Certainly got a stormy sky there. Lovely trees, and also the fence there on the left-hand side. And I noticed some posts punching the scene from the bottom. That's very effective. Randomly spaced, but a good idea with that fence, that row of fence posts there leading us into the background, and again giving a feeling of depth. Nice texture on the grass, those dry brush marks, they came out well. With the shadows on the field, Anna, maybe you've got the light in your scene coming more from our left-hand shoulder, if you see what I mean, rather than far away on the left-hand side. But I think the shadows could be a little bit more effective if we had them coming at sort of right angles into the scene, so that we're going to get more the shadow there, more the shadow here, this main cow shadow there, and then possibly that cow, the shadow there, rather than the shadow being beyond the cow. It's always quite tricky when the light is almost behind you. And I have covered this on a few videos before, and mentioned a few videos before, how tricky it can be with the light behind you. Works well with a photo, but when we're painting, trying to get that shadow beyond the object, if it's a figure or an animal here, it's always quite difficult. But you've handled it really well. But I still think, in my opinion, it might be just a bit better if you imagine that sun moving a little bit more to the left-hand side, coming in at right angles from the left-hand side. Might be easier with those shadow shapes. But a beautiful, bright scene. Yeah, well done. And John D. Good composition. Love the cows. Those cows are brilliant. Very, very good indeed. The sky came out really well. I think with the trees, there's just a little bit too much of the, I guess it's white gouache you might be using here, John. Just ease off on the white gouache. I know it's your style and you like using it, but just I think on the foliage there in the background, I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to get maybe some light into the scene where the light is just catching against some shiny leaves, perhaps. But having said that, the trees came out really well. I particularly like the right-hand trees with this opaquish yellow-green there. That area there, very nice indeed. And you've got the soft edge as well. There, pushes it back against that sky. The field could be just a little bit lighter, I reckon, because that would be, your cows are so good, particularly that left-hand one. Your cows are so good. I think if the field was a little bit lighter, they might show up a little bit more. And then come into the foreground. Again, in my opinion, just a little bit too much of the white gouache there. Do like the angle though, the repeated angle of a lot of these branches and twigs in that hedgerow that's sort of leaning from bottom left to top right. Almost like the wind is blowing it, or that's the sort of direction of the prevailing winds. Yeah, very nice indeed. Well done, John and Joy. Let's just zoom into this a little bit. I like it. That top half of the scene, that light there, that band of light there, and it's almost like hitting the tops, the backs of these standing cows. Very effective. Your brush marks are super in that tree there, top left corner. Very economical use of your paint, your brush marks. You've hit the paper once, you've made it count. You don't go back into it and fiddle about with it. And then also that mark there, and then this mark, almost leading us towards these cows. Not so sure about how well the cows came out with, maybe it's the legs, their rear legs, that one and that one. I think with the cows, I mean, this left-hand one, for example, the heads look good. The heads are brilliant, and their bodies, but I just think it's the legs. Maybe this cow here, its body could be, so not bothering with the front legs, and then the rear legs, almost like a flat base to the back of the body there on that one. But going back to those brush marks, my eyes keep looking in that sort of, that top area there. Very atmospheric. You've achieved a lot of light and scene. I love the colours, the granulation as well. Beautiful granulation. Look at that. Yeah, very effective. Well done, Joy. And Kazim. Nice, bright scene. Warm golden colour to the grass. That contrasts very well. That colour there contrasts really well against that cooler sky. That blue against that sort of almost yellowy orange in a way. Good composition. I think you've pretty much followed me on my thoughts on the composition with the layout of the cows. That back cow there contrasting nicely against the darker trees. The skies come out really well. Fantastic sky. And these trees as well on the left-hand side. Very good. With this white gouache, just a little bit messy there, Kazim, on that. I mean, you've done it well with the fence posts. They've come out all right. As I remarked before, perhaps with white gouache, it needs a lot of, in my opinion, it needs a lot of mixing in the palette with a little bit of water, and maybe 25% water to 75% paint, that kind of ratio. So you get a thicky sort of creamish consistency to the paint before you apply it to the papers. That maybe just, well, that was quite dry there, but just made just a little bit too much water in the mix. And it's gone that sort of milky colour. The foreground whites, they turn up a lot better. Yeah, these marks are all right, they're better. But those cows, beautifully drawn and painted, Kazim. And I really like that field, the yellow contrasting with the sky, and the marks that you've got on that field as well, that kind of radiating pattern. And also, to help with perspective, I'm not sure if it came out in my painting, but the actual distance from there to the next line, it gets less and less as we go towards the back of the field. So you've got that feeling of perspective and depth in the scene. Yeah, well done, Kazim. Larry. I was going to say that sky looks a little bit overworked to me, but I actually quite like it. The sort of blobs. I guess you've done that with a bit of lifting off maybe, where when you lay down that darker blue and then perhaps with the same brush you've sort of lifted it off in that area there, and then a little bit over here. Yeah, it's overworked, but I think it sort of looks all right. The trees, nice green for the trees, but just a little bit too perfectly round, I think, with that left-hand tree there. Try and get more of a natural wavy edge to the tree, make it a little bit less perfect. Ease off on that white gouache there. I think the white gouache for the tree trunks works all right where it's catching the light, but these white blobs, I don't think that works too well. You can get away with it in the field and the foreground hedge. That hedgerow looks superb. I like the pattern of the warmer green and the middle green, and then those white marks and darker marks again. There's a little bit too much water, or you might have gone over that green. The green there was still wet. You've gone over with the white, and it's contaminated a little bit. Cows turned out really well. Yeah, nice grouping of cows. The left-hand one here, good shape to it, but maybe just a little bit, could go a little bit darker with the shadow there. And then perhaps just a few little marks here just to show where the tail is, or where the spine is sort of coming down the back there, and then a little bit of a shadow being created by the tail. But nice cows, very stormy scene, like it. And the actual shape of those marks as well, that's come out really well. Thanks, Larry and Leslie. Good composition. I think with this one, Leslie, we might be just a little bit too bright. The skies come out really well. That's a fantastic sky. These marks here, this is what watercolor does, that kind of, these blooms, very effective in skies. And also you've got lots of soft edges around those lighter clouds, dark in that top left corner. Very effective. Nice trees. Could have some softer edges in those trees. Some of these marks just a little bit too hard. Could have gone a bit darker, all right, in that bottom right-hand corner of those trees. The cows have come out really well, especially that middle one and the left-hand one. Yeah, the cows look all right. Perhaps it looks a little bit bare in that top right corner, but I'm only saying that because I included a cow up there. But yeah, does it look all right? Maybe it does actually, because you've got some marks up there filling that space in, and different shades of green as well. Cooler green there, lighter green there, almost like a warmer colour there. You've got the marks, radiating marks across the scene. Hedgerow in the foreground could be, I think, could be a little bit darker, or maybe with your marks of the green, perhaps a little bit larger marks, but certainly getting a few more darks in there would have a bit more impact. But you've achieved the feeling of that bright light, and that sky is fantastic. Beautiful sky. Well done, Leslie. And Lillian. Nice soft scene. Good composition. You've got the standing cow there. Cows on the right look good. Not so sure the cow is convincing here. I think maybe it's the body. The body looks a bit too slim for a cow, and maybe the ears are a little bit too large as well, or the eyes are a little bit too large. I think if we imagine the ears were smaller, the body a bit more chunky, you've got the right length of legs. This front leg here might be just a little bit too dark. Yeah, that might make it a little bit more cow-like, and get in some harder edges as well. All right, try not to make that edge just a little bit too soft along the back of that cow, and that a lot of the cows are going to have a sort of straightish back, aren't they? And then sort of a more chunky feeling to the body of the cow. That sky is beautiful. I really like that sky. Granulation, these lighter areas, these bit of white paper showing through. Could be some lighter clouds, and then the trees perfectly done, just the right value for the shadow. And the hedgerow in the foreground. I think the top bit of it looks all right. I like that. I like this pattern here, these leaf patterns against the dark. That's very effective, that overall shape there, that sort of shape. But down here, I think if you'd have repeated how you've done that, if you repeat that across the scene, I think that would be more effective. Again, hard edges. You've got lots of soft edges in this. But that sky and the background trees, they are superb. Well done. Thanks, Lillian. Linda. Great feeling of light coming in from that left-hand side with the light of that tree, the foliage colour of that tree, and then this cloud, the marks that you've got in there, that sort of curvy, darker area, very atmospheric. Well done with the cows. Perhaps there could be just a little bit of a darker shadow with those cows on the grass, the cast shadow, just a little bit darker. Smaller shadow for the one in the back, obviously. I should say the trees have come out really well. Yeah, I like them. Particularly those left-hand ones. They're excellent. Nice texture on the grass as well. Just a little bit of those light, a little bit of the darker green there, just to get a bit of extra texture into that grass. Cows really well drawn and painted, particularly the middle one there. And that right-hand one, that's come out all right. Yeah, I think if we had a little bit of a darker green there, that might make it sort of connect more with the grass. The hedge in the foreground, very good indeed with the darker marks. Perhaps the mid-green that you chose, the mid-green, like this bit here or that bit there, could be a little bit thicker, all right? And yeah, a little bit thicker. It's almost getting lost with the colour of the grass. But that top left corner, fantastic. Well done, Linda. And Lynn. Nice sky. I like the edge on those trees there in that top left corner. Very atmospheric sky. And that the colour that you've chosen for the trees, it pushes it back. It's light in value. It's lighter in colour. And it's got that cool green about it. Good job with the cows as well, particularly that left-hand one. Shadows could be a little bit darker. We could have a little bit of a shadow more on this cow here as well, just to connect it with the ground. Love the grass and the patterns that you got. You almost got a feeling of a bit of a curved mound to the field here, in that we've got that sort of bit of a curve going on. I like it. And the hedgerow in the foreground, brilliant. That's just the right sort of opaque-ish, thick colour, that green that you've chosen there, Lynn. That's come out really well. And it sort of contrasts nicely. You've got a bit of warmth in that field. A yellowy green there, almost a reddy brown there, where I guess where the mud, the earth, the sods are showing through. Very nice indeed. Nice and bright. Thanks, Lynn and Mark. Yeah, I think with the lighting here, it sort of suggests almost an evening view and almost like the moonlight. We've got a full moon here and it's casting some light across the scene, and we've got these cows, they're bedded down for the night. That's my feeling with this one. Those two cows there, they are superb. Fantastic. Yeah, so good sky. I guess it's because the trees are darker than the sky. That gives me the feeling of that more late evening type of a view. And it's come out really well though. That sky's fantastic, lovely background trees, left and right, the meadow as well. That cow there might be just a little bit overworked, Mark, that one there. I think where you've gone in with the slightly opaque-ish paint possibly could soften up the edge, the transition between the lighter belly of the cow and the darker shadow. But the cows are really well drawn. Nice hedgerow in the foreground, maybe just a little bit overworked, but it's all right. Yeah, I like the, I'm not sure if it was your intention, but I like the kind of, it's not during the daylight hours, it's more mid to late evening or even moonlight. Well done, Mark. Mary. Yeah, you've moved the cows more central in the scene, pretty much more in line with what they are in the source photo. The cows have come out really well. Not so sure about that one there. Maybe we need longer legs on that one there. But the others are fantastic, especially that one there, looking at us. So nice placement of those cows. The light that you've managed to achieve in this is fantastic. That sky is brilliant. Again, you might argue it's just on the verge of being overworked, but I think it looks super. That light there, the angle that you've got those clouds at, that one there, and then we're going a little bit flatter, aren't we? And contrasting lovely with the light on that tree. You've got the kind of volume with your shading of the tree. You've got the feeling of the volume, the curvature of that tree. The meadows come out really well, just the right sort of lightness. Bit of a light patch there, lighter patch here, contrasting against the dark head and ears of that cow. Nice pattern of these tufts of grass, the lines of those darker marks. And the hedge, that's come out really well also. Yeah, nice one, Mary. Very nice, particularly like that sky. And Mike. Like a few others, those trees are superb there on that left-hand side. The sky, the way that you've let the wash do its own thing with that sort of curvature. I guess your board might be on a little bit of a slope, I would think, Mike, but those trees there, they're really nice. Maybe we could have just a little bit of a softer edge where, as I've said before, we've got the dark underneath of the tree, and then as we come round into the light, we transition ever so gradually to that lighter green. So you could have, in there would be a harder edge because the light's coming from the left-hand side. So we've got some lighter foliage going against the darker car shadow on that right-hand side. But maybe on the left-hand side of these shadow marks could be just a little bit softer, but that green is fantastic. Cows are brilliant. Yeah, they are very good, particularly that middle one, the one looking at us. Shadows could be perhaps a little bit darker, tiny bit darker, almost like that green there. Lovely colour on the field. You've gone a little bit lower with the hedgerow. I like the little sort of branch coming out there. The marks that you've got for those leaves there, very nice indeed. And a sort of lost and found of that twig, that branch coming out. Yeah, like it. Super scene, lovely sky, lovely trees. Well done, Mike. And oops, did I go past? Oh, Mike. Lydia. Let's zoom in. Nice and bright scene. Got a bit of a slope coming down here on the left-hand side. I like it. You've made more of a feature of those trees on the left. Those trees are superb. Could have gone a little bit darker with the sky, And that would give us, of course, a bit more contrast to your bright trees. Those trees come out really well on that right-hand side. The shading that you got in those trees, very effective indeed. Again, a mixture of hard edge, softer edge, soft edge there, hard edge with the base of the trees against the back of the field. Cows have come out really well, particularly these three in the foreground. Maybe the one at the back needs a little bit more connection with the field. So yeah, a bit more of a shadow maybe on that right hand side, just a little bit more of a shadow. But they are really good cows. And then, oh, a bit like Mike, you've lowered the hedge a bit. Very nice. Good simple use of some leaf shapes there for those brambles. Very effective. Yeah, particularly well done on that tree though. That's a superb tree, and the sky. Well done, Nydia. Peter, nicely framed with the mount, always sets it off really well. Yeah, good composition. The field has a lovely warm feeling to it. Good job with the sky. Perhaps with the sky, I would not have that bit of a light area there, Peter. Go with the sky. The sky's really nice. Connect it with those trees, all right? And the foliage of the trees, perfect. You've got the shadow in there. I like that shade of green that you've chosen there. Slightly sort of coolish green. Contrasts nicely with the warmth of the field. You've got the texture of the grasses in there. The cows, you've got, so the left-hand cow looks really good. The cow here, it's sort of, we just got the back end of it. So I think it could have been a bit more interesting if we imagine we turn that cow around a bit, or we had a little bit more of the head of the cow. Just so I can get my drawing tool out. A bit more of the head of the cow sort of coming down there, facing over to the left. I just think that would have a little bit more impact. Nice shadow though. That's just the perfect dark green for the shadow on the grass. Yeah, and the other two cows, they're superb, particularly that left-hand one. That sort of cool, dark colour. It's not black, it's a sort of dark, mauvey colour. Like it. Good job with the hedgerow. With the brush marks, I would probably just continue a little bit more down, make him a little bit more dense with the covering of those leaves down towards the edge of the paper, rather than having the grass showing through there a little bit too sort of wispy, and we can see a bit too much to feel through them. So go in a little bit thicker, larger brush marks for those leaves. Yeah, particularly like that field. There's nice and warm feeling to that field, and the texture that you made with those little brush marks there. Excellent. Well done, Peter. And Ravi B. Nice bit of light on that tree. As I remarked on a few others, try and get a bit of a soft edge coming, or a bit of a soft edge between that shadow and the light of the tree. Lovely sky, field, brilliant. You've got more of a sort of horizontal feeling to the top of the field. That's all right. The cows, they've come out all right. Especially that left-hand one, middle one, good. And this one here, maybe could the head be just a little bit larger, possibly a tiny bit, and that far right one, that came out all right as well. Nice colour to that field. Certainly got a warmer green for that field. And then the hedgerow at the bottom there, yeah, it's come out really well. But I particularly like that tree in the top left-hand corner, and the way that you've done that sky, very atmospheric indeed. Well done, Ravi. And Roger. I like the brush marks on this sort of stippling effect. It's got, to me, it's got the feeling of more of a sort of quiet summer's day. You've gone a little bit lighter with the sky, darker with the trees, and that sort of brush technique that you've got for creating a foliage, very effective indeed. Gives you a feeling of sort of the frothy foliage effect. It's come out well. And then those trees there. So I guess the effect you've used there is a little bit of lifting off, possibly, to get those lighter tree trunks. So you've avoided the use of white gouache. Perhaps with those fence posts, they could be a little bit closer together over on the right-hand side, so it gives the feeling of the fence there just disappearing into the distance. Oops. Go back to Roger's. I was going to say the foliage on the right, let's go over very carefully. The foliage on the right-hand side, that edge against the sky, that's come out really well. These cows are superb. Maybe this cow on the left-hand side is quite bright, yeah. Maybe just a little bit more definition to the bottom of the cow, and just a little bit darker with the tail there, and just behind the ear, this little small ears. Those cows are fantastic, really nice. And you've got in the standing cow as well, which is quite difficult. You sort of extricate it from the darker cow that was connected to the right. And then this foreground hedge, like it. Yeah, again, that sort of brush marks that you've got, and the repeating lines, those angles of the twigs and branches. Yeah, and so as I said at the beginning, another different technique, and I'd love to see everyone's different take on the same scene, and applying different watercolor techniques. Right, Rosella, which I accidentally went to in the middle of Roger's. Sorry, Rosella. I love that green. That's a beautiful bright green, a warm green, contrasts nicely against that sky. That sky has come out really well. Contrasts again with the light of the foliage of the tree. I like the sort of umbrella type shape of that tree as well. Almost like an umbrella, like a mushroom. And that darker shading on that right-hand side. Perhaps the tree on the right-hand side could be a little bit lighter at the top. You've got some more darker edges. We could get a bit more of a punch contrast with a lighter top to that. Cows have come out really well, particularly middle one and right-hand one. That tree, the field, I really like that field. That green, that bright green. I'm going through a phase at the moment of using bright greens, which you might have seen. I quite like it. Sometimes you've got to tone it down with a little bit of, well, maybe a reading green, or if you want to warm it up a bit more, a little bit of a red. But yeah, I do like that green. You've gone a little bit lighter, softer, lighter in the distance. So you've got that feeling of depth, and the way that you've got the spacing of the lines across the field. And then that foreground hedgerow could have gone a bit bigger with the brush marks there, Rosella, for the foliage in the hedge. Very nice indeed. A lot of feeling of light, beautiful sky. And Sandra. Yeah, those cows are fantastic. Maybe from a composition point of view, we've got a little bit. I think all of those five. Those 5 cows, so 4 close to us, 1 a little bit further. If they were, so you've got them here, but maybe if we had them a little bit more. So this cow there, just left of centre, maybe if it was just a little bit there, it might be a bit better balance to the scene. But those cows are superb, fantastic. Especially that one there, that left-hand one, and this one as well, second in from the left. They are two superb cows. The shading, the shadow that you've got there, the actual shape of those shadow marks, very good. So the sky is fantastic. You've got the light against the tree. We've almost got a feeling of a bit of wind coming through those trees. I feel that as well with the way that you've painted those trees and the shadow marks. Yeah, lovely sky, background trees, field, brilliant. And then the hedgerow in the foreground. Very nice indeed. Yeah, fantastic, Sandra. Well done. And Sarah. Nice bright scene. That the value that you've got of the field just right. Light against that darker sky. Trees are superb, especially in that top left corner. Very nice indeed. Nice brush marks for the little blobs of shadow. And you, to some extent, you've got a bit of a softer edge to some of those darker shadow shapes. Nice edge to the field in the background there, up against the edge of the hedgerow. Cows are fantastic. They're really good. Yeah, those three there, especially left-hand one, a right-hand one. Very nice indeed. Not just the right value for that shadow on the grass. And then the hedgerow, yeah, that's come out all right. I think that's just the right sort of combination of light, mid-green, and then the darker value for the shading, the shadow, the shadowy areas within that field. Yeah, very nice. A nice sort of natural feeling to the field and the colour and the value against that darker sky. A nice fresh sky as well. Well done, Sarah. Susan. Very loose. Nicely drawn cows. I like them. And yeah, we've got a few organic, very confident pencil marks showing through. I like that. The angle of that pencil mark there, going down from the head to the back, and then it comes down to the tail. Cows are lovely. Yeah, they've got a good balance to it. Sky is nice. Not so sure about the trees. They look a little bit overworked. I think maybe down towards the bottom that could be a little bit darker down there. I think overall that right-hand tree's come out all right, but over to the left it's a little bit overworked with the white brush marks, but certainly does look like a tree. Sky's fantastic. Really nice. Perhaps the field could be just a little bit lighter. Get a feeling of light coming into the scene. So we've got the darkness in that top third and then a little bit lighter in the field. A little bit the same sort of value as you've got, say, like here between these two cows. I think it was that kind of value. But I do like the way that you've got these marks going across the field. Nice transparency. Certainly coming down. Nothing overworked. Really fresh. The hedgerow, fantastic. Yeah, but good job on those cows. Well done. That's Susan and Suzanne. Well, a nice warm feeling to that field. You've got, so the dimensions here are slightly wider than I went. So you've got more of a wider screen. Panoramic view of the scene. Those trees, I love those trees. Just zoom in on those trees. You've got yellow there, a lighter green, cooler green, the dark greens as well. The shape of the shadow marks you've got just right. Lovely sky, a bit of lightness there. Contrast against the lightness of those right-hand bushes. The cows are really well drawn painted. Perhaps we've lost a bit of definition of the cow there, the head on that one, but this middle one here and that one there, fantastic. I think you kind of get away with that sort of mark you've made there. Yeah, perhaps we could be just connecting a little bit more of shadow on that one so we don't have that sort of whitish mark between the cow and the field. But field is beautiful golden yellow colour, very autumnal. And the way that you've done the hedgerow in the foreground, I think that works really nice. Not so sure about this white, like a sort of thistle or something growing out of the hedgerow. Not so sure about that, but everything else, I think it's not. I like it. Yeah, maybe the left-hand side of that hedgerow looks a little bit better than the right-hand side. But if I zoom back out, yeah, I really like the kind of dimensions that you've chosen, stretching out the scene, and that tree there, top left corner. Very nice indeed. Thanks, Suzanne. And last but not least, Vicente. Oh, looks like we've got a couple of fields here, as Vicente often does, changes the composition of the scene. Yeah, a nice style to it. Lots of soft edges. We've got the feeling of that stormy day. We've got, 4 cows here in the nearby field, and then we've got the hedge there going across the middle, then a couple of cows further on. Perhaps the cows further on, there could be just a little bit softer edge. You've got quite a perhaps too much of an impact of the dark with the light there, but maybe they could be softened up a little bit. But a lovely composition. The way that you've also softened up the top left corner and the top right corner is very effective. It just sort of causes the viewer's eye to go on there. A nice connection with the cows, with the background, the middle hedgerow. Not so sure about the almost perfect straight edge of the hedge at the bottom in the foreground there, and also the regularity of these fences. I think if you made it a bit more random and maybe a harder edge to this foreground as well, that would just bring it a little bit closer to us. Well, I've just noticed the udder, very reddish udder of that one. Yeah, lovely cows. Yeah, well done, Vicente. So while I stay on Vicente's, thanks very much, all of you, for taking part, and those of you also that submitted your painting. Not everyone submits their painting for a review. I quite understand that, but thanks very much for those of you that did. Hope you enjoyed the critique and my own personal opinion of these paintings. And fingers crossed, I look forward to seeing you on the next workshop. Thanks very much indeed. Bye-bye.